thought it was a precursor because initially my stage 2 cancer, they'd taken a biopsy and they'd proved that it was cancer. I hadn't had a biopsy on anything, so I was expecting this was perhaps a precursor. And my wife, at least about 10 times previously to my meeting, had said, I'll come with you. And perhaps it was part of the protection element as well. But no, I decided to go on my own, and it is one of the most stupid things I've ever done. Really.
Yeah. I take it when words like that are being spoken, it must almost seem surreal or out of body experience.
It is, and it's a common theme which perhaps comes through in the book as well. When you're told you have a life-changing, life-limiting medical condition, you go into shock. And you know the oncologist is speaking to you. You can see his lips moving. You know there are sounds coming out, but your brain is trying to catch up with what you've just been told. And you come away from that meeting incredibly numb. You're trying to process. And then later on, the questions that you perhaps wanted to ask and should have asked then come back to you. But it's just, it's an immense experience, which I really hope other people don't have to go through. But unfortunately, as you mentioned, with over 3 million people in the UK living with cancer, there's a lot of us that go through this.
Yeah. When I was reading your personal story within the book, there was a bit that really jumped off the page at me, and I actually clipped it here. So the large pale waiting room was filled with other people whose lives had been touched, more accurately hammered with cancer. They sat patiently with a worried expression, which I would soon come to adopt, and along with other patients, friends and siblings, they waited to see the oncologist. Now, that almost kind of stopped me in my tracks, because I've been in one of those waiting rooms with a family member, and I actually remember taking a second and looking about. You have people flicking through magazines, kidding on that are reading them. You have people doing an in chat about anything that traffic or the pothole was murder in the way in. People sitting by themselves staring at their shoes. There can't be many rooms like that in the world where people are sitting patiently, politely in a waiting room to be potentially told devastating news. I can remember thinking, this is surreal.
It is. It's it has to be experienced to be believed. The emotions that you go through, and having now been in that room a number of times, and having been on the end of phone calls as well from oncologists, you soon assess. Yes, there are people waiting to hear, either what do I have or what's the latest scan results. Is it going to be positive? Is it going to be negative? And usually you're there with someone else to pass the time whilst you're waiting. But as soon as the oncologist comes out and calls your name, then yes, your emotions go into overdrive.
So what did that first week look like after being told you had stage 4? So stage 4, does that basically means it can't be cured? It's treatable but can't be cured?
For the majority of cancers, yes. And when I was growing up, perhaps similar to you, in the 80s and part of the 90s, if you were told someone had stage 4 cancer,
that was that.
That was it. When's the funeral? Potentially would be the next question. So yeah, it's certainly livable. I now know a lot of people who are living with stage 4 cancer, and depending on your oncologist, the difference perhaps between incurable and terminal will depend on the type of cancer and if there are any options for you as well.